everyone, welcome to the Fishhead Creations podcast, where I put out one of my interesting knitting projects every time and talk you through the details. My name is Lena. You can find me on Ravelry as Obsty and on Instagram as Caledoniana, and as always I'd love to hear from you. 2 episodes ago I talked about gift knitting, and I mentioned a cardigan I'm knitting for my mom, which she kind of forced me to knit because she just couldn't find something that worked for her with a yarn she had bought on my recommendation, because I thought she might like the yarn. She did, but I don't think she has the patience anymore to knit a whole garment. She just sticks to socks usually, and already complains about having too many socks, but I don't think that's possible. How can you have too many pairs of socks? She only has about 5 or so. I have quite a few more, and I don't think it's enough, let alone too many. Hi Loki. I don't know if you can see him, but he just joined me. Isn't he a cutie pie? Yeah. It's very uncomfortable to have him in the bed all night. Every night. Stealing all my blanket. Although he usually keeps himself to the edge of the bed and just stays there. So it's takes up most of the space. But however, back to the cardigan, because I actually finished it. It's done. Completely done. It looks like a wearable cardigan. It even has buttons. And yes, I did seam it up and I put the buttons on, which I didn't plan to do in the first place, but then I thought my mom would never do it, and I'd have forced myself to do all the knitting I didn't enjoy very much, just for it to lie around unfinished forever. So one day when we met some friends for computer gaming, and at midnight I just couldn't take it anymore, and there was also quite a bit of waiting in between the games. I just brought it with me and seamed up little by little and had it finished by that evening. So yes, it's completely done. The pattern is just some basic V-neck cardigan from Drops. It will be linked on the project page. But yeah, it was written for just their sock yarn. Self-patterning. So first thing I did, because I had 2 colors and I knew I wanted to use both because my mom liked them together, was decide I'd just do the whole thing completely striped. It's always 10 rows of the grey and 4 rows of the green in the stripes. And the yarn is Drops Baby Merino, which is a superwash merino fingering weight. I have no idea of the gauge. I didn't measure, as usual. But let's do it right now. Let's see. Looks to be around 24 stitches per 10 centimeters. But I could be lying. I could be making that up completely, because I don't do gauge and I'm bad at measuring gauge. But yeah. I knit this on 3.25 millimeters. I think for the back I went down for the ribbing, or rather cast it on a smaller needle size, but then I just forgot and didn't keep it in the project bag, and all other ribbing is knit on the same 3.25 millimeters, except for the neckband or the button band, which is picked up after the whole thing is seamed together, or rather before, because I just seamed the shoulders and then knit the button band, but we'll get to construction later. But yeah, I knit that on 2.75 millimeters just to make it nice and sturdy and a bit tighter, so it won't stretch out and do this funny wavy thing button bands can do. Yeah, construction. It's knit completely flat and in pieces. It was my first time completely seaming a garment. Before I knit this, I had set-in sleeves on a children's cardigan, but never on an adult garment, and I never knit the body in pieces and had to seam that one. So it was quite interesting, and I hope it will have served well as a learning piece, because my next jumper I planned for myself, and for which the yarn should be arriving any time now, will also be knit flat and in pieces. But yeah, back to this one. I started with the back just because it's the largest part and I wanted to get it out of the way. It's knit from the bottom up, just a few rows of ribbing, then one ridge of garter stitch, which I quite like, just as an edge between the ribbing and the main body, and then it's completely in stockinette with a bit of waist shaping, as you maybe can see when I hold it up. Yep. When you get to here, you start binding off stitches from the armhole, knit to the shoulders and bind off there. Then I knit both fronts, bottom up again, stitches bound off for the v-neck starting here and also for the armhole again, obviously. Then sleeves, also knit bottom up, increased along this, along the seam, on the edges and the flat piece, and then some kind of, was machst du da? Some kind of sleeve cap shaping, which I can't remember. I just followed the pattern, it worked out quite well. Bound off at the top. Then, yeah, I went ahead and seamed the shoulders first, just to have all pieces attached to each other. And then, after I had seamed the shoulders, I went ahead and picked up for the neckband. I did slip every first stitch of every row, just because I'd read that was macht ihr da? That it can be easier to pick up. It was quite easy to pick up, but I don't think it makes for the neatest edge, both at the pickup and for the seams, just because it does tend to create quite big holes around here. So next time I'll do a garment flat, I'll just knit every first stitch as well as every other. But yeah, I picked up every slipped stitch for the neckband, so one stitch for every 2 rows of stockinette, which is quite a low or a high ratio, or low ratio, I don't know. It's quite few stitches for many rows. Most people recommend to pick up 3 and 4 rows. But it worked out perfectly, I think. It just gave me the exact length I needed for the button band. I did a stretchy bind-off here, just to make sure it had enough give in the edge, because I did block this button band quite aggressively, which I didn't do to the rest. Then I went ahead and seamed the sides up. I know it's usually recommended to first set in the sleeves and then seam the sides, but I hadn't blocked all pieces, so they were curling enormously, and I just couldn't be bothered to set in curling sleeves into a curling cardigan body, so I just went ahead and seamed the sides up, which is not the neatest job in the world, so maybe you can see, I hope so. But it was my first time doing it, and I think it worked out quite okay. I did mattress stitch it. Yeah, and I went ahead and seamed the undersides of the sleeves. Same reason why I did that first, just because I didn't want to deal with the curling sleeve when I was setting it in. And I stopped both seams just a few centimeters away from the underarm, so I had a bit of wiggle room when I set in the sleeves. And well, when I seamed the sides and the undersides of the sleeves, I just did it by eye, because I had all the stripes to align it to. So whenever I hit the next stripe, I knew if I was on track or if I was off, and only had to redo a few stitches if something didn't work out. But for the sleeve caps, I just used those safety pin stitch markers and loosely attached the sleeve to where I wanted it to be, so that, well, some of the stripes lined up, as you can see here. I tried to mirror the lining up of the sleeves on both sides. I think it's fine, though it worked out better on one side than on the other, but it's alright, it's wearable. My mom will wear it happily, I hope. It did grow quite a lot, so when I had seamed it all up, I just let it soak for 20 minutes or so and patted it out flat on towel on the floor. I didn't pin anything except for the button band, so just from the top here to the bottom I pinned that part, just because I knew I needed to stretch the edge and the whole ribbing of the button band to get the length I wanted. So I pinned that to itself just both layers of the button band to itself and then to the back and to the towel underneath, just so that the stripes would align. And I think that worked out really well. It didn't need much blocking anyway. It did grow quite a bit, which is fine because my mom does like a bit of positive ease, and I had knit the size that would have given her 0 to slightly negative ease, just because I knew it's superwash and it would grow. So I haven't tried it on now, but before I washed it, it did fit me okay, and my mom is kind of the same size. She does have broader shoulders than I do, but less bust, so it should fit her quite well. And if she doesn't like it for whatever reason, I can keep it. It's not really my colors, but it does fit. It's okay. But I don't think I'll be in any danger of her not liking it. And I was quite happy to even find really nicely matching buttons. I do have an old button stash, which is mostly buttons my grandma had lying around when I was smaller, and just some buttons I randomly found on the floor somewhere. And whenever someone had buttons just from a garment they didn't like anymore and took apart or anything, they tended to give it to me just because I had a big button collection and liked them. But most of those are just single buttons, or 1 or 2 of each. So I was quite happy to find 11 of these buttons, so whenever my mom loses one I can replace it for a time, because it's only 8 on here. And the way I placed the button bands was just, it's 3x3 ribbing for all ribbing parts of the whole thing. So in every other knit column of the ribbing of the button band, I just placed the buttonhole on one side, just by yarn over it. I did a double yarn over, where you wrap the yarn around the needle twice and then knit the next 2 stitches together. So it's quite a small buttonhole, but I think it looks really cute with those small, slightly shiny grey buttons. I think they match it perfectly. And yes, I think that's almost all I can say about this. I must say I didn't hugely enjoy it, as I already mentioned, just because purling long stretches at a time has never been my favorite. And earlier in the year I was bitten quite badly by a cat, not one of my little cuties. Here she is. She's crazy. But the cat at the stable, because he was injured, I tried to catch him to get him to the vet, but whatever. He bit me quite badly, and I do have quite a few scars on my left forefinger now. They don't hurt, but the bite also seems to have damaged the tendon in the finger, and it does hurt when I do any extensive purling at a time. So that wasn't too much fun on my left hand, but I must say it does have improved my purling significantly. Before I knit this whole thing, I did get a lot of rowing out and inconsistencies in my purls and knits, but I think it looks alright. It does look quite like a consistent fabric. It's not too much of a difference between the purl rows and the knit rows, so it did have its positive effect. And I do now have a Christmas present for my mom, which is good, because she just recently was on a holiday to the Canary Islands, and she will be back tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. And then she will go back there with my dad next time, early in December, so she won't be here for Christmas because we will be spending Christmas with my boyfriend's family. So, where was I? Yeah, my mom will go back to the Canary Islands in early December. Just because it's all the excuse she needs not to be here that we won't be here. So she doesn't really enjoy Christmas at all, and the winter weather here in Germany, she doesn't like it anyway. So she will be going away to quite a bit warmer climate, and was supposed to get a cold winter here, so she will spend it near the equator on the Canary Islands again. And just a light layer of superwash yarn might be quite a good thing to put on in the evenings. So yeah, she will get it now and she can take it with her, and I'll just not have to bother about Christmas presents anymore, which is quite a nice thing. I really look forward to that point of it. But there's so many more people in my boyfriend's family who need Christmas presents. I really should start to worry about that, but I do have a stack of hats already ready to be gifted, so they might just get some of that. Yeah. I must say I don't think I will ever enjoy seaming a lot more, but a lovely viewer recommended the Ennis pullover, I think by Sarah Salomon. Yeah, when I asked for cabled garments last time, and I immediately went ahead and bought the whole issue of Interweave magazine where it was published, because I could get the single pattern from Interweave as well, which would have been $6.50, and I could get the whole issue, which had another 17 patterns, for $7.99. So obviously I bought the whole issue because it's barely anything more, and $17 more, which is a much better ratio of price per pattern, because I think $6.50 isn't cheap. And you should know by now that, one, I'm a student on a budget, and two, I'm a cheapskate, because I know I will modify most patterns to death anyway, which is why I don't really see why I should buy very expensive patterns when I already know before I'm buying them that I will alter a lot, which just usually happens with any kind of yoke pattern on it. I will alter it severely in many places, and I don't really much follow the pattern except for the decrease rate in the yoke and the stitch count, which is everything I need from a pattern, and therefore I don't really see why I should pay too much money for it. Obviously the stitch count and the decreases are a big part of a pattern, which is what I'm willing to pay for, but if I don't follow any other part of a pattern, I don't see why I should pay too much money for it. So I'll just make up my own things, which is why I used the drops pattern as a base for this, because I knew I wouldn't follow any kind of striping sequence or anything. I knew I would make that up for myself, and I did alter the whole button band in this cardigan. The whole thing around from the bottom to around the neck and back down again had around 300 stitches in my version, and the pattern called for 430 something stitches on even fewer rows, because I usually have a short row gauge, and I just didn't think that would work out. And yeah, also I made the sleeves longer because I wanted them to cover the hands and not be bracelet length, so I even altered that pattern that I just used for the armhole shaping basically. So yeah, long story short, my next garment for myself will be a cable jumper knit in pieces, flat and seamed, but as it is a cabled, highly textured jumper, it doesn't really make any difference if I knit it flatter in the round. And after the whole story of the beast that still keeps on growing, I quite like the idea of having seams in a cabled garment in that yarn, just to give it a bit more stability in the sides and stop it from growing everywhere. We will see how it works out. I'll report back on that. But yeah, huge shout out to Eva of the Charm of It at this point, because she's the one who really got me into thinking about seamed garments, at least. Because I always knew I didn't like to do the seams, and I really didn't feel like doing it, but her cardigans are so stunning, and every time she talks about how easy it is to just knit a front piece and be done with it, I really liked that idea. I really did. I do think I always prefer to knit my sleeves in the round, because it's just so relaxing. I really like sleeve knitting. I'm totally with you on that one, Eva. And it's like knitting a big sock, and I wouldn't want to knit a sock flat anyway. So why would I do it with a sleeve? I don't think sleeves generally in the yarns I tend to use do need the structure of the sleeve, so they will always be knit in the round. But for the body, I can see myself knitting pieces again, and I do think that with a bit of practice and a bit of trial and error on how to do the edge stitches, I will get my seams to look a lot better in a short time. So yeah, I really look forward to doing that, and I really look forward to my yarn arriving for that one cardigan jumper I'm planning for myself. And I do think for cardigans, knitting flat is quite a good thing, because you just have shorter rows at a time. Because if you knit a cardigan flat in one piece, it's just huge rows. Well, I knit cardigans with a steek mainly, but just another construction to think about. I don't have any idea how well satin sleeves will fit me, because I really like how a yoke sits on me. And this jumper I'm wearing right now, for example, has sleeves knit seamlessly in the contiguous method, and they just sit too wide, sit too far on the outside. They are too wide. They get this funny gaping blob on the shoulders. I don't really like them. So I'll be interested to see how a real satin sleeve actually looks on me and sits on me, or if I just should stick to the yokes, which I do like how they fit. Yeah, whatever. I'm rambling on, and I really don't know where it all started. So I think I'll leave it at that for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm sorry it was a day late again, which I maybe should have mentioned in the beginning, but we had a holiday yesterday, my boyfriend was home and I wasn't home alone. I cannot film a podcast when he's here. So, a day late again, I'm sorry for that. I hope to get back to my recording schedule sometime, but I know I'll be away for several Wednesdays this year, so we will see how that goes. I'll keep you posted. Thank you so much for watching, and please comment below, comment on Instagram, contact me on Ravelry. I'd love to hear from you. Bye!